mind us.
Welcome to the coffee break. Grab a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, whatever you're drinking, kombucha, and feel free to throw it in the chat. Let us know what you're drinking.
And where you're calling from, or I should say where you're viewing from.
Yeah.
So this is a new thing that we're doing, everyone. This is our second week doing this. And we're doing something a little bit different this particular week. We are doing two things at once. We are doing a Zoom session right now, as well as a live Instagram feed. So be gentle on us. We have a lot of technology going on right now. We just figured we'd feed two birds with one stone doing it this way.
Feed two birds with one seed.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Birds don't eat stones.
I got the old one mixed up. Kill two birds with one stone.
Try to be less violent.
I'm trying.
In our language.
How's the audio, everyone? Are we good? No echoes? Because I'm getting a little bit of echo on the Instagram feed. Anyway, let's jump in. This is what an average meeting that Sarah and I have looks like. So you're getting a sneak peek into how we work. Half the time it's all technical issues. So yeah, thanks again for joining us, everyone. Those on Zoom, those on Instagram. We're going to be recording this so people who are not able to make it can, get a sense of what we're up to with this party program. So for those who don't know what the party program is, it is a 2-week summit. We are putting together an amazing program for you all to learn all the topics and get all these resources that you need to build yourself up to be a climate designer. The way that I've been describing it to people is that you all are amazing designers in your own way, whether you're a fashion designer, whether you're a service designer, UX, UI designer, doesn't matter. What we want to do with this summit is provide the resources, the knowledge that is like the scaffolding around you so that you can build yourself up to become a climate designer. So we're talking things like systems thinking, indigenous wisdom, we're talking behavior change. Let's see, what else? I'm looking at my notes. Climate leadership. Climate communications, exactly, yeah. So we want to just give you all some updates. If you go to climatedesigners.org/party program. I should probably learn our URL, huh, Sarah? If you go to climatedesigners.org/party program, you'll see all the speakers we have so far, but we have about, I don't know, another 5, 6, 7 speakers in the pipeline that have been confirmed this week. So we're adding speakers all the time. I'm really excited to announce some of our latest speakers. We have Dr. Anita Sanchez. She's an amazing woman. She brings indigenous wisdom to the summit. She works with a lot of Fortune 500 companies, bringing in all the knowledge from her ancestors into corporate America and trying to move that needle so that she can, maybe even influence some of these people in leadership to embrace more of an indigenous approach to their business. We have DJ Kavam. This guy is awesome. We just had a call with him yesterday. He just confirmed and he's super stoked to be able to provide his amazing creative talent. He's an eco hip hop artist. He's a doctor. He has a PhD. He is a chef. He has his own cookbook, vegan chef.
Tell me more about being an eco hip hop artist.
All of his lyrics center around
that's so cool.
Eating healthy and talking about water issues and soil health and all that stuff. He's great. So DJ Kavam, Cavem. He's been on the Rachel. Is it Rachel?
Maddow?
No. The chef.
Rachel
Ray. He's been on Rachel Ray. He's performed for the Obamas. This guy just is a jack of all trades. So he's super stoked to be a part of it. He's offering his amazing talents to the summit. So stay tuned for that. His session is going to be really amazing. And Sarah, you have someone that you have always enjoyed their work. Nikki Silvestri.
Nikki Silvestri said yes. We still have to figure out exactly what her talk's going to be about, but I have this work crush, climate crush on her. She's just so wise and inspiring. And I think when I first heard her talk, she was the executive director of People's Grocery in Oakland, building organic and sustainable community farming and turning it into a grocery in West Oakland, where it's a food desert. And she just does a lot of stuff in social equity, in food systems, and also, social services. And it's all regenerative and climate solution focused and economic. And she also does a lot of coaching for leaders and diversity and inclusion training. Where is this award that I just saw? She was named one of the Roots 100 most influential African Americans. So I'm just really excited that she said yes, and she's willing to be part of the summit as well.
Good stuff, good stuff. And then we are working on a few sessions that we're nailing down some of the panelists. We have a panel highlighting how designers can use storytelling to connect interwoven issues around racial, environmental, and social justice within their own communities. So stay tuned for that. And we just actually launched tickets, 50% off tickets for students. So we realize that there's a lot of students out there, undergrad or grad students, who are wanting to partake in this conference. And so we have a special ticket just for them. So if you are a student and if you have an .edu email address, go ahead and sign up, and you have a 50% off ticket. So yeah, I think that's everything, Sarah, in terms of the last week. We've been just grinding. I've been in inbox land this whole week. Been on Zoom calls, talking to potential speakers, confirmed speakers. We have a whole team working their butts off behind the scenes, promoting stuff. We're going to be listed on a number of newsletters and websites around, I guess I was going to say around the world, but I guess on the web.
Which is around the world.
Which is, yeah. And yeah, so we're really excited. We just have a few weeks before we kick it off. And yeah, putting something like this is hard work. So props to those who do these big events full time. I give you credit. So yeah, so I think that's it for updates on the summit, Sarah, right?
Yep. climatedesigners.org/party program. Grab a ticket. It's going to be fun.
Great, great. So what we've done, and for those who have joined us late, again, we're doing a few things right now. We have a Zoom call right now with some of our friends, as well as we're doing an Instagram live feed. So we're just going to open it up for a Q&A for the next like 20 minutes. So answer any questions you have about the summit, or maybe even about just what we're doing with climate designers in general. So,
or just feel free to say hi.
Yeah.
We've got Carly in snowy New York, drinking some grapefruit oolong. And Chris is in San Antonio, Texas, drinking water.
Going, Chris.
Who else? Who else is here? Say hi. What you drinking? Throw it in the chat or unmute yourself and get on camera.
Hi, I'm in LA and I'm drinking hot mushroom chocolate.
That's a lot like what I'm drinking. Hot mushroom chocolate. Sort of a cacao, chai, mushroom coffee replacement. Nice. Nice.
And actually, Rachel is part of the head of entertainment, part of the Climate Designers Summit team. So just calling her out. So put her on the spot.
Nice.
And she's part of the LA chapter as well. So, and the LA chapter is cooking up something really awesome. They're going to be putting together a session for the summit. I'm not going to give too much details, but it's going to be a very global project. For those who are going to be part of their session, you're going to be creating basically like a resource guide for your specific city or region, all centered around resilience and sustainability. So be on the lookout for that.
Cool. We've got Kelly joining us from Instagram. She's from Boston, drinking cold tea because I've been on the phone all morning. That happens to me too. You just keep drinking it. Yep, this is cold. Yep. Anyone have any questions or, just general comments? Anyone just want to say hi? This is what this meeting is for. Come on in.
Bueller.
I don't
don't know if I want to open up a whole discussion, but I'll just say something I've been thinking about this week of it as I've started officially job hunting is how um, if I end up at, I'll say some quote unquote normal company, what I can do to kind of bring and encourage more sustainable practices to a design team at,
Oh,
you know, some place that's not focused on that 24/7.
yeah. No, that's a great comment, question, thing. So for those of you joining on Instagram, Carly just kind of asked, like, if I just get a real job, a regular job at a normal company as a designer, can I still bring in sustainability? And Mark and I say, yeah, absolutely. In fact, arguably, you might be able to make more of a climate impact doing that than going and finding, you know, the climate companies that there are few and far between climate companies out there that are hiring designers and hopefully growing more and more. But for sure, if you go and work for just a regular company and you say, hey, I'm a climate designer, you know, I don't know what kind of graphic designer, industrial designer, interface designer or whatever, you can say, I'm a climate designer first and foremost. My training is in graphic design or whatever. And just make that, like, wear it on your sleeve, make that your thing. And you know, there's always little committees that are being formed in companies. They might be doing something around how they feed employees for, you know, the lunch meetings, the all hands, when they bring in catering, like food is a huge thing where you can become more sustainable. Whether they print on recycled paper or not is a huge one. All of the internal operations of the company is something that you can absolutely impact when you just come in and say, hey, I care about this. This is something that I find really important. And then when you're working on whatever projects you end up working on, you're going to be the one that asks those questions like, hey, what happens to this after we're done with it? Does it just get thrown away? Or what's going to happen to the people that we're designing for in their environment? You know, like, where does this go out? How does it affect the world? You know, just like design like you care about the people that your designs are happening to. That's my philosophy.
Can I add on to that? Because like something that I've been thinking about and something that I've been learning through like different climate designers meetups and stuff is, in addition to all the physical ways, like, you know, when we're in the office, like, yes, like paper and snacks and, you know, whether you even turn your computer off at night or not, like energy saving, that kind of stuff is easier to kind of check in on each other. But so I've been thinking like about working remotely and what are other ways to like make people conscious about the energy that they're using. And so yeah, it's like I like have been trying to like encourage people like, hey, don't save everything on your computer, like everything backed up onto the server 5 times, like that takes up space, and like the power to run those servers to share those files, like that's the kind of stuff that I think isn't top of mind. And like even I think there have been some sessions that we've had where they've talked about like if you have a website, like the host of the website or something, like and I think maybe you guys can speak more to that, but that was like kind of like my little like mind-blowing moment, like, oh God, you don't even think about all of these other ways in which you can, yeah, like have an impact on the environment.
Yeah, climate affects everything and everything affects climate. So as individuals, it can feel like we don't make a huge impact on the huge enormity of this crisis. But as individuals, we are parts of communities. And you might not think about it this way, but where you work or who you work for is your community as well. And especially if you work for a big company, you have the opportunity to influence a really large community. And you might even be able to influence some of the things that that company does, makes, puts out in the world. And so I think that's huge. And so just by being educated about all of the things that affect climate and all of the little things when it's just you, it's a little thing, but when you can bring that into where you work and influence your community, it's a much bigger thing. It has a much bigger impact.
Awesome. Yeah, I called myself a climate designer in a cover letter for the first time yesterday, and it felt very good.
Woohoo! She
Nice.
called herself a climate designer in her cover letter, you guys. Throw
That's
a
awesome.
party icon in the chat for that one.
That's awesome. Very cool. We have a student studying graphic design at Illinois State University, researching about climate design for his last semester, which is pretty awesome.
Mhm.
So yeah, we love design schools, design education. Sarah and I teach part-time at California College of the Arts in San Francisco. I've been teaching there since 2013, I think, something like that. And I've actually brought in a new class called Climate Designers within that school. So I've taught it for 2 semesters in a row, and within both the graphic design department and the interaction design department, and it's been awesome. And so yeah, any educators out there, we have a whole initiative called CD EDU, which we're trying to bring more climate related projects into the design classroom so that students who are working on their design projects, they can still work on really cool projects, but the content is more centered around climate. So instead of just designing a whole brand around some random coffee company, fake coffee company, why not brand a solar company, or why not brand a whole climate movement? So, you know, this way we hope that students will get exposed to this stuff, and through osmosis, subconsciously, it'll, you know, maybe inspire them to actually pursue this kind of work when they graduate. You know, the way that I talk about it when I talk to educators and even students, because I do give a lot of talks to students. I was going to say I was at Northwestern or Northeastern University this week, but I zoomed in to Northeastern University this week and talked to their design students. But the way that I talk about it is that you have a lot of these young kids who are doing these climate strikes. We saw a huge rise in them about 2 years ago. And the way that I look at it is that if you have 1 million kids, let's just say 1 million kids in the country. And when I say kids, I'm talking about, you know, 13, 16-year-olds, teenagers, right? If you have 1 million of them, take 1% of those million, that's 10,000 young people who might have an interest in design. And so they start looking into design schools, you know, telling their parents, hey, I want to go here, I want to go there because there's some sort of climate focused, you know, department, then that's amazing, right? They would want to go and apply to those schools because it satisfies both their interest in climate and their design and creativity interests too. So I just have this big, hairy, audacious goal of graduating climate designers in the next 5 years. And we are actually in talks with a major state university. I can't share too much because it's not final yet, but we are in the talks with a major state university here in the US, putting together a climate design program. So we should be hearing back within the next month or so. So stay tuned for that. That'll be a huge thing in the education space.
Yeah, they're working on putting together a minor, right? So you could get a minor in climate design. That could be actually on your degree.
Yeah, minor and a certificate. Yeah.
Sweet. So for those of you joining via Instagram who couldn't hear what Rachel was saying, she's sharing in the chat as well about the environmental impact of cloud computing. And just this little snippet, by 2025, the technology sector could consume 20% of the world's total electricity. This increase from 7% currently is attributed to the expansion of cloud computing and the further development of new technologies, such as artificial intelligence, which require a great deal of computing power. And so a lot of people don't realize it, but the computers and the servers that we used to make this whole internet thing happen, most of them right now are running off of coal and oil and gas. So we're still using the fossil fuels to make all of this technology work. But it just highlights to me the importance of getting our electricity grid onto renewables ASAP, because everything's just going electric and computerized. So we need to get that computer energy clean.
It's electric, boogie woogie. There's a message on Instagram. We get this question a lot. So Sarah, I'm going to throw this at you. This person, I'm new to the term climate designer. How do you define that? And what does a climate designer do?
Cool. Yeah. So the way that we define it is by bringing together, first of all of the design industries. So whether you're a graphic designer, industrial designer, fashion designer, whatever, we bring it all together because we're all using the same process, really. And we are saying that first and foremost, what we care about is the impact of our work on the climate. And so I am a climate designer. My background is in graphic design, brand design, and UX design. And so that means that I might ask a lot of questions in a project about the life cycle of a product, or what the downstream impacts might be, because I care about the impact of my work on the environment, on our ability to continue to survive on this planet. I think that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Yeah, and to add to that, we're not saying that people need to abandon their specific like design skill set. So we're not saying that people need to walk away from fashion or industrial. You can still do all that stuff, but just focus on these larger issues centered around the environment, centered around climate, centered around all these things. So again, as what Sarah mentioned, you introduce yourself first as a climate designer at the intersection of X and Y, or I'm a climate designer in the fashion space. So the way that I talk about it is that you put your values up front and center. So when you're at some sort of networking event, or maybe perhaps writing a cover letter like Carly, you put your values up front and people know exactly where you focus your work. And I think, in my opinion, it's pretty badass. And here's the other thing too, y'all, like titles are invented anyway. The one thing I say, and maybe Sarah, you can talk about this a little bit, but the title UX UI designer didn't exist 10 years ago.
Yeah, totally. The
right?
term graphic designer was invented in what, like the 60s?
Yeah, maybe a decade or two before, but yeah, so why not evolve our creative industry to incorporate this particular title that encompasses a lot, but you can still do what you want to do. And also too, and I always like to say this, I put this little asterisk in there every time I talk about this particular topic, is that we are not suggesting that we created this idea of designers working on climate or environmental issues. Not at all. The one person I always reference being kind of the OG climate designer is Bucky Fuller. So all we're doing is giving it a name, packaging it up so that it is kind of a nice thing that people can open up and see all the opportunities, all the things that they can do. And that's what we're trying to do with the website. We're trying to provide you all with resources and information and a community. We have a podcast, we have chapters, we have profiles on the website for you to see what other designers are doing in this space. So we're just kind of building the bike as we ride it. And we are all about collaboration. And so it's been amazing to create this whole initiative. And it's only, 15 months old now, with the help of our amazing members and volunteers. We couldn't have done this, Sarah and I alone. So yeah, it's been pretty amazing to see this whole thing evolve. And we're just at the very beginning of it. And the fact that, and I'm going to call out a specific organization, the fact that AIGA, many of you probably have heard of AIGA, the fact that they reached out to us and asked us to put together a climate designer panel last November during their national design conference, something that they've been doing for many, many years, I think that says a lot. They're recognizing the need for this, and we've been building a very awesome relationship with them. So I think this is definitely here to stay. I think we struck a nerve, and it's also cool to see, and we're not pretending that we're the only people doing this. There's all these other organizations and communities at the intersection of creativity and climate that are popping up too. Yeah, and why not? We need more of them. So we don't look at them as like competitors, we look at them as collaborators. So that's my spiel.
So climatedesigners.org is our site, and we also have an online community. So if you hit, I think it's the join us button, there's a way to get into our community. And Carly mentions that we have a topic called small gig volunteer opportunities. And she says, loving the small gig volunteer opportunities in the community lately, by the way. Wanted to ask, is that considered a climate designer's member perk, or are they fair game to share on other platforms? It is absolutely a climate designer's member perk, and it is absolutely fair game to share because we believe in collaboration and spread the news far and wide.
Yeah,
no competition.
We had to create that because Sarah and I, and this is maybe getting into a little bit of the origin story for climate designers, which I won't get into, but because we started to become known as the climate designer people, a lot of our climate clients and the networks that we hang out in on the climate side, they started to ask us, hey, we're looking for a designer to do this. Hey, we're looking for a designer to do that. We need help with this. We need help with that. And so what I did was I created this onboarding flow, because as Sarah knows, I'm all about streamlining workflows, so that when we get these, as what Carly mentioned, these small gigs and volunteer opportunities, it's an opportunity for us to intake all the information. Basically, it's like a project description. And then I can turn around and post that. So when you do see those posts from me, Carly, for example, since you asked, that's me posting a job, a project from an organization that I've already been in touch with. So it's kind of coming through me first, just to make sure that it's up to snuff and that everything is cool. And then I turn around and post it to the community. And so, and I've actually gotten a number of replies from those organizations saying, you know, OMG, thank you so much. We found a great designer within your community. Awesome, appreciate it. So it is working. So if you are part of our member platform, definitely keep an eye out for that. If you're looking for projects to build up in your portfolio centered around climate, the environment, whatever, this is definitely a spot to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and they're looking for designers who already know at least some basic information about the climate crisis. Usually that's why they come to us. And so we are hoping to build, you know, kind of a reputation where climate designers is where you go to know, like, to find people who know what's up. So you don't have to train somebody from the very beginning, like, okay, when we burn fossil fuels, carbon dioxide goes in the air. You know, like, you don't have to give them the rundown, because hopefully climate designers already know what's up, because we're talking about this stuff all the time. And we're doing events and stuff like the Climate Designers Party program, which you all should absolutely come to.
Yeah, and to riff off of that a little bit before we wrap up, employers in the climate space really appreciate that. They don't have to onboard a new designer to teach them all the basics, right? And so again, that's why, whether it's the summit content or the stuff that we cover on the website, we're providing you all with the information that we feel and others feel, those on the front lines, the scientists, the researchers, the policymakers, information that you need to know, so that when you do jump on board a climate project or within a climate organization, you're already there. They don't have to onboard you with all this new stuff. They don't have to tell you, oh, go ahead and watch climate videos on YouTube to get caught up on what sequestration is and why we're, you know, in this mess. And then, but more importantly, specifically around creativity, how you can apply things like behavior change, systems thinking, regenerative practices into your work too. And so, so yeah, it's been really awesome to build out this whole program and to come up with content, working with both those scientists and researchers and founders of these climate companies, as well as talking to you all within our community. So I think we're about a minute shy. I think we should call it, Sarah, right?
Yeah. Anyone else want to call anything out before we close out? Thank you all for joining.
Awesome. Well, cool. Well, this was the first of a mini Fridays. We're going to be doing this up until the summit. So this is, again, for those who are joining late, this is an opportunity for us to kind of update you all on the summit, some of the new presenters that we're onboarding, some of the sessions that we're creating. And then after that, we'll just jump into a Q&A. So, so yeah, and then for those on Instagram, let us know how it went. We're doing both Instagram and Zoom right now at the same time. So we both have our phones propped up on our laptops. So we don't know how this is working. So, and then those on the video on Zoom is going to be posted to our YouTube channel as well. And yeah, I guess that's it. Cool. Thanks for joining, everyone. Have a good rest of the day. And till next week.
Good to meet you all.